Okay, we are live for now. Uh, Let me tell you that I managed to borrow a smartphone, trying to use that as a what do you call it, a modem or something. But I don't know how it works. So but I will try to get some new thing to connect to the internet today. I think I need to upgrade that little box to the 5G network. Or I don't know. But okay, let's. While we are here, and I might be gone like in a second. I don't know. But I want to say, first of all, that I don't think that Trump is a fascist. And people say that a lot. I don't think he is, because he doesn't seem to have that kind of ideology. I think he is at least a borderline narcissist, and he has a huge ego. Um, and so but what I'm trying to say here is that if we look at the other people in inside the MAGA movement, it is interesting to see what kind of ideals they have. Now, J.D. Vance, he wrote a blurb on a book called Unhuman or Unhumans, written by, now I forget the name, but that's so J.D. Vance is an ideologue, and he's much more problematic. I think someone like Trump is necessary, perhaps. Now, what happened recently in Europe with Ukraine and so on, I think that was a mistake. But I won't get into that now. Um, it When you praise a book that is praising uh, pure fascism like Franco and Pinochet, that is reason to worry. I never liked J.D. Vance. There is something that's off there. But fascism is something, and in the live stream I just did, there is something there in fascism that uh, the MAGA movement could become that. And I think we need to be honest and realize that. It's just like any socialist movement has the potential to become communist. And and I think we also, I mean, it's obvious, right? And also, I'll be fair here. You will have people in the USA that would be the Democrats, and here that would be the far left. The far left is not the same as the Democrats, but they will praise communist leaders, and that's fine. Mainstream media has no problem with that, even though those leaders killed and tortured thousands or millions. So that's fine, apparently. But it doesn't take anything away from the huge problem we have when the vice president praised a book praising fascism. Unhumans or Unhuman is what that book is called, and you can look it up. Now, I think that, I don't really like ideology. I think just being kind is good, and using sense and reason is good. Those two things are what we should try to do more of. Any ideology that ideologies they have the tendency to become more important than people. Now, And yes, Laura, identity politics. There is certainly identity politics as a big part of MAGA. And Scott, one thing we don't do here in this on this channel is to claim that people have a lack of understanding and so on, because you don't know me, Scott, and you don't know where I've been, you don't know my background, so you need to be better than that, because you know, and this is, you might consider this a bit of a warning, right? Yeah. um and Wolf or Odin, I don't know, are you in agreement with that? I hope not. um and I'm not saying that if you support the MAGA movement that you're a fascist. I'm saying that we need to look at the and moderators, can you please just keep an eye on Scott there? um oh, we have another one. Well, it is an offense, user 111. Let's see here. So and we also kick Scott out for a little while. They can go in the naughty corner and fondle themselves together. So it is important to understand that it's first when you look at things from the outside that you truly understand it. And I think that someone in Norway who has never been outside of Norway would not understand Norway. Such a person would be difficult to find, though, because we travel a lot. Ethnocentrism is also a big part of the problem, I believe. And I mean, it's obvious, right? Americans are notorious for that. So it's like we laugh at that. I mean, it's a standing joke, basically. But this is also one thing that you can find videos on this on the internet, on YouTube. Americans who lived abroad and they come back and they see that Americans are extremely ethnocentric, and it's not the greatest country on the planet. It's not the freest country on the planet, and yeah. Let's see here. Oh, wow, Nero, that's extremely kind of you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Now, do I think Wolf or Odin that MAGA is a threat? No, I don't see MAGA as a threat. All I'm saying is that it seems to have the potential to become fascist, but that would depend on who takes over. And now, what we are seeing in mainstream media and also in alternative media all of the time is that it's a cult based on Trump's persona. I don't think that's true. I think that's maybe how it started. But Trump is an old man. What happens after Trump? And that's extremely important. That question should be asked. And I think it's an interesting question, because the people who are in the corridors there, who are clearly already have started their campaign, like J.D. Vance, they are, and it's becoming very obvious, they are much more extreme in their ideology. As I said, Trump is not an ideologue. He's a businessman. He has a huge ego, and so on and so on. But I don't think Trump is a fascist. I don't think he's an ideologue. But what happens after Trump? I don't think the MAGA movement will go away after Trump. So, and there's another thing that needs to be said. If you have the typical personal traits and beliefs of someone who would support the MAGA movement, you will claim that it's about freedom. You will claim that it's about individualism and so on and so on. But at the same time, we are seeing that it is certainly attacking those who doesn't fit the bill, who are different. And also, I think that there is corruption there, high-level corruption, and that is part of the policies being done now in Europe. So I know this is an unpopular opinion, and I couldn't care less. At this time of the day, lots of Americans are watching. That's okay. But it's something that needs to be said, and I am, this message being unpopular is something that is not for today. It's not for tomorrow. It's going to be here on YouTube many years from now. And as I often say, I hope in the future people will, if people discover this live stream, and they will say, oh, look at this guy, he was all wrong. That's what I hope for. Because if I'm right, people in America, first and foremost, are in for a very difficult time. Yeah. But let's, while that's what I wanted to say. Now, I have been to the USA. I've been to the USA three times. And but I've traveled in most of Europe. And the funny thing is that, and I keep saying this, people, especially in North America, they think the EU, European Union, and Europe is the same thing. It's not. And in Norway, we don't like the European Union at all. And we're not part of the European Union. We are part of NATO, though. We have been part of NATO since 1949. Because I saw a claim here that the EU is much closer to fascism than anything in the USA. I think that is wrong. And it's wrong, and I'll explain why it is incorrect. Yeah. Because I already, in the live stream I just did, before the connection was gone, we talked about what fascism is. And there clearly are elements of that in the MAGA movement. And you don't see those elements in the EU. The problem with the EU is that it's anti-democratic. Yeah. So the EU is anti-democratic. It's it has removed the power to decide through the democratic process from the people in the local communities, and it has centralized the power. So it's not. Does the EU have an ideology? I don't think so. Maybe it's a no. It's not really ideological. Is it corrupt? I think it's very corrupt. Um, so there are many problems with the EU, and yeah, but it's to claim that it's fascist. I think that's wrong. It's absurd, actually. Is it communist? No, it's not. Is it socialist? Clearly not. But no. And yes, everyone gets called a fascist. Everyone to the right in politics being called a fascist these days. I can see that, but I find it interesting to look at the definition of fascism and see if it applies to the MAGA movement. And when Trump is gone, as I said, who will be the strong leader? Because it needs a strong leader. If it can't find a strong leader, I think the MAGA movement will die. And a lot of things, whether or not it will become fascist, I believe, depends a lot on the strong leader and the cult around that future leader. Thank you, the collector there. Good to have some support here. I think that J.D. Vance, absolutely, it's fucking obvious he has fascist tendencies. It's obvious. His contempt for Europe and the way that he's started his campaign catering to the core audience in the USA every time he speaks about Europe or to Europe. It's disgraceful, and someone needs to. I won't say it. No, I won't say it because it's. I was going to say something nasty, but yeah. Well, I think that boils down to. Let's hope it boils down to that he's just immature. He was a journalist for the Marines. Numbers suck. It's not a Marine in him. He was a journalist there, as far as I've been informed. And even if he was a Marine, you can't behave like that and expect any respect. He's his laughing stock here. Isn't that what they call it? Now, thank you for asking, Clav Assassin something. No, sorry, Gracie. Let's see here. Who is standing up in Europe? Now, interestingly, Trump's bullying got the results that he probably wanted when it comes to Europe. Ramping up their military, and I've never seen anything like this, and it's happening by the hour. It's insane. So basically, you're going to see a massive European war machine now, and I don't think that you will like that. Americans will probably have to. I don't know, but you see, I live in a continent of war. There is no fucking soil here, no piece here of soil that hasn't been fertilized by blood, human blood. That's what's going to happen, and it's something that's wrong with people in Europe, in their psyche, in their collective mind. Um, it's a madness, and it's a war madness. And I don't think you see that in people in North America, luckily. But there's a madness that will grip people here, entire nations, and they will throw themselves into battle and into the killing. It's extremely destructive. Now, as I said, I've been in the USA, and I've been in many European countries, well, most European countries, and I can tell you that Europeans are just so violent. I can't really explain it, and it's there's just this violence lurking behind the corner, not behind the corner, but in the psyche of people. And I think maybe it comes from conflict. We are not that far away from conflict. Nobody here is, and I think it worries me, because when that starts happening, you will have a Europe in war, and it's just so destructive, and it's like it goes on and on and on, and yeah, I'm sorry, I'm being dramatic here, but um, it's the thing with killing without reason, killing for the sake of killing, and that's what you will see in Europe, and it's been like this for, I mean, we need to go back to Roman time and before that, so hundreds and hundreds of years. So I hope that we will not get into that madness, that war madness. I hope it won't grip us. I hope that's not where we are heading. But right now, it kind of looks that way. And they're going to send troops, like people, soldiers, from France and the UK into Ukraine now. And when they start doing that, and I can tell you this before I end the live stream, on a personal note, my daughter was, we have the military conscription uh, in Norway. So basically, and I'm against that. Basically, the state owns you and can do whatever they want with you for a year, and you get training, weapons training, military training, and all of that. When you're about 19, that is. And now they are discussing, should we send Norwegian soldiers into Ukraine as well? And a lot of our politicians think that's a good idea. I mean, yes, that's basically starting World War III, at least a complete war on European soil. And my daughter was, well, she was, as all young men and women that age, she was conscripted into the military. But she was very lucky, because they usually have too many people. But now they're ramping up, so she didn't have to. So I was like, very relieved. But now they are talking about more people into the military, I think. So she's not in the military. And when I heard these politicians, that was it yesterday, 2 days ago, talking about sending Norwegian, soldiers, kids, basically, they're kids, sending them to Ukraine. I was like, I'm so glad that my daughter is not in the military, Uval says that's an important question. Why would you want to go and fight with Ukraine against Russia? I don't think we should, but that this is the madness I'm talking about. This is the madness. This is the war madness, the killing. There's Norwegian word blodtåke, when the blood fog, we say. Mark says Norwegians are a little naive about human nature. Just say sorry. What? That doesn't make any fucking sense. Yeah. So why? I mean, why would we do that? And that war needs to end. And you know what? I don't care about it being a fair. They are saying the war in Ukraine needs to end, but in a fair way. I don't care about that. It just needs to end, and it needs to end in such a way that it's not going to start up again. That's important as well. Yeah, I of course I support Trump's. No, I don't support Trump's solution, but I guess you could say Trump. I support his position to stop the war. Of course, I do. But I'm very disappointed with the solution, because it seems like he's just taking orders from Putin at this point. And that solution, that peace deal there, it will not stop the war. Mark my words. I was hoping for a difficult, a better solution, but that would be, it would be very difficult. But yes, Ukraine needs to give up the territories that Russia has occupied, and they need to. I mean, it's not going to be what most people would call fair, but it just needs to end. And yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's going to happen there. I just know that war is something that we need to avoid, and I don't want my kids sent to war in Ukraine. I don't know. I don't want the war to spread. I mean, I can still be. I have 3 more years now. When I'm 55, I'm not obligated to join the military anymore. But I mean, a lot can happen in 3 years. So yeah, and old guys like me, I think maybe we are not wanted in the military so much. But I don't know. I don't know. But until I'm 55, I can still get that letter. I guess it's maybe an email or a text message now, that you have to show up at this location at this time, and you will be handed a gun and stuff. Go and kill Russians. Yeah. So I don't want that. I don't want to kill anyone. So so I don't know, but it's a lot of people here. If you want to know, a lot of people in Norway, we worry about this because we are neighbors to Russia. It's very obvious that if the war spreads, we will have a war in the Arctic, basically, and in the Arctic Sea, against Russia. So that's not something you want to happen, right? Thank you, Wolf Odin. Linguo567 says Russia isn't my enemy. I agree. JL says, I served for 20 years in the Marines. My son is currently serving in the Marines. I hope his time is boring and uneventful. My time certainly wasn't. Well, in these cases, I first of all I say thank you for your service. Is that what you say? Thank you for your service and dedication. But also I agree. Yeah, let's hope that your son's time is boring and uneventful. Laura says no middle-aged man or his daughter should ever be sent to fight. I agree, but I also think that if I was given the choice, let's say they send out a letter to all the families, you have to, one of you need to go to war. I would go because I've already had a good life, and it's better that I get killed than my kids get killed, of course. But I guess you don't get to choose. KP Heathen says, my son is a Marine. Well, that's awesome. Let me just throw in here that I think that the people in the military, they give me hope because they're not ideologues either. They're just doing a job and they know much better than these politicians and these, dare I say, soft boys, in the corridors of power, the corridors of the mighty. What's going on? I know there's a lot of frustration among the Americans. There are 12 American military bases in Norway. They say, oh, they are Norwegian, but the Americans can do what they like there, have as many people as they like there, and have as many weapons as they like there, and so on. So basically, they are American military bases, and 12 of them. JL, oh, you served in Norway. You spent time in Norway as a Marine. That's awesome. Is it true that Norwegians always make you pay for the liquor, the booze? That's what I've heard. Yeah. So again, what our politicians are talking about now is that it's basically this attitude. Look at what Trump and this little prick J.D. Vance is saying. Who the fuck do they think they are? Okay, who the fuck do they think they are? Maybe we'll just kick them out of those military bases then. If their president is saying that we will not be defending you, well, why would we keep you here? Why would we let you be here and do your surveillance thing of Russia and all of that? Why? So that's what they're threatening to do now. I've heard that we'll kick you out of the military bases then, and all of that. And anyone with a sound mind would then, I think, agree that that's not really helpful, is it? Because we have come together and we have agreed that it's probably a good thing that the Americans are there, but only if we work together, like the Norwegian military and the American military work together. That's the whole point, isn't it? But yeah, so I think there's a lot of frustration, or at least that's what I've heard about this among military personnel. They are there doing a job, and it's sort of an important job. And now these politicians, partly because of big egos, partly because of, I don't know what, maybe they don't really understand the situation, and they are saying crazy stuff. And the American military people, Norwegian military people at those military bases, they are shaking their head, and it must be very frustrating. They are there to do a job, and now they are listening to this crazy talk. Let's see here. I'm scrolling up to see the context of things. Oh, really? Is Australia also here? Okay. Laura says, you have chronic pain. Why would your government want to send you to fight? Well, they don't care about that. They don't care about that. DJ Lewis says, this is a stupid war. Absolutely. Let's see. Okay. No, I'm scrolling down again. So, okay. Yeah, well, about conscription, military conscription, you can learn a lot and see the world and so on. Yeah, absolutely. And but also, as Hotep here says, reading and traveling will do the same. No need to conscript at all. Absolutely. Let's see. Yeah, the collector, a volunteer force is a more loyal force. Drafted soldiers aren't going to be as loyal. Yes. But you know what? I'm sure you know. But the enemy, okay, let's put it this way. When drafted soldiers are sent to across the, up from the trenches and over the minefield to kill the enemy, they are doing so with their officers pointing their guns at them, because if they turn and run back, they will be shot, right? So I think it's important to understand that in a time of conflict, your government is not your friend. I would rather say that your government is your, in many cases, becomes your enemy, because you're, you know what I'm saying here. And this is why I'm very much against military conscription of the draft. I think it's against human rights. I'm against war as well, you know. And what's happening in Europe now is extremely worrying. As I said, this madness can be woken up at any point, I think. And if that happens, it's going to be very ugly for a very long time. And they can keep I mean, Europe is very wealthy, and they can keep a war going for a long, long time. Yeah, that's true, Wolf of Odin. Most people have no knowledge of geopolitics, politics, and only listen to propaganda. And DSC says if Trump did a mineral deal, I think that's disgusting and extortion, and it will for all time portray Trump as a bully and a fool. I'm sorry to say that, but it's not going to work. And why? Because there were many American companies, many American boots on the ground when the war in Ukraine started in 2014. And then when it was ramped up, of course, with the full-scale invasion, many American companies, many American boots on the ground there, it didn't matter. It didn't matter. And the Russians won't care. They will maybe direct their rockets and so on outside of the mines, but I don't think that will matter at all. And that is the conclusion that most military analysts have made during the last few days. Again, interesting point here. Lots of double views there in your nickname. And I'm actually going to make a video about this on the main channel. But what you're writing there is, your feelings are really going to be hurt when Trump goes down as the best leader the world has ever had. Like they're not just helping America, it's helping you as well. Now, I don't know where you get. Well, I know what you're trying to do, and it's interesting because having feelings is being used and it's being criticized and it's being seen as a weakness by people like you. And I can tell you that if you had a little bit more life experience and were not a complete fool like I think you are, you would know that having feelings and showing feelings is actually a sign of strength, because someone who will do that has the strength to do that and still remain strong. Okay, so a little bit to learn there. Okay, and if you look at what's happening now in a historical context, it's very easy to see that the good things that Trump is doing will be mainly forgotten because of the bad things that he's doing and his ego and his statements. There are parallels in history to what's happening now, and those leaders, they are usually seen as, I hate to say it, dictators. Not saying that Trump is a dictator, but that's how the history will see it most of the time. Now, you have to go back to, well, there are some English kings. Basically, you have to go back to the Roman time, Roman Empire, to find leaders like that who are seen as good leaders by history. Okay, enough time spent on that nonsense. So I can assure you that my feelings there, they don't matter. I believe it's extremely important to read history. Extremely important to understand what's going on now. Let's see here. Shining Knocked Owls says, feelings show the strength of one's heart. Yes, it's very interesting. When I was doing Muay Thai, my instructor there, he said that those, when you get in the ring, and those who act very tough, they are not the ones you need to worry about. But those who are humble, who might even seem, very emotional, those are the people you need to worry about, because those are the mentally strong people. Let's see here. Yeah, thank you for mentioning that. Rotax hippie Ukraine has imprisoned its men. I think it was very foolish of Trump to say that Zelensky is a dictator because they haven't had an election. Saying that makes me think that he doesn't really understand the situation. How can you have an election in a partly occupied country? That would be impossible. But what J.D. Vance said, and I know by now I don't like J.D. Vance, but he said something very important, and they're basically dragging people to the front to be killed there, and because of what they did there, they said no men are allowed to leave. That's when I knew that we are not dealing with, I mean, the Ukrainian government, we're not dealing with good people. Zelensky is not a hero. And that's what he is being portrayed as here in mainstream media. He's not a hero. And I hate to say this, but, and again, unpopular opinion, I have the gift of making myself unpopular among many groups. But I'm just trying to be objective and critical here. Look at where the money is going. Look at where the money is going. Ukraine is still one, I think it was the most corrupt country in Europe. Now, when you force people into the military, you're breaking human rights. And I don't care if people say, well, they are at war. I don't care. You are breaking human rights. So someone who approves of young men being dragged from the street out of their homes, sent to the front to have their legs blown off, that's not a hero. That's not a fucking hero. So it's tempting to call people like that dictators, but we need to be a little bit careful with that term because, well, actually, I would be tempted to use that word myself about Zelensky, but it wouldn't be correct, would it? Not, at least not if you say that it's because you haven't had elections, because how could you have elections in an occupied country? The collector, thank you so much for the donation. And by the way, I saw a donation in the other live stream I did before the internet connection was gone. Now I can't remember who gave that donation, but thank you. You're reading, I'll read it. You're writing, internet tough guys are the weakest people. Being kind on the internet is the hardest thing to do, but easy for strong people. Yes, I agree. I have failed on that. You know this because if you listen to what I'm saying here, if you listen to these live streams, you know that some people get me upset. But I shouldn't be, you know. Let's see here. Let's see. But you know, it's the funny thing. Well, it's not funny really, but I think what people are reacting to here, and as they should here in Europe, and you should react to that in North America as well, the fact that Trump will call Zelensky a dictator, but he will never call Putin a dictator. And Putin is a dictator. If you don't see that, you should look again. Let's put it that way. And yes, home planet, I was getting to that, but thank you. Is that yes, Ukraine was supposed to have United Nations protection for giving up their nukes. Yeah, it was the most heavily armed country in Europe, I think, except Russia. So Was that the Budapest Agreement? Is that what they call it? And the Budapest Agreement. People are maybe on Google now. Bucharest. Oh, thank you. Or Budapest. But yeah, now it's a very complicated backstory to the conflict there now. Yeah. Yeah, it's Shining Knocked Owls. I hope I'm pronouncing that correctly. You're writing, too many people try to portray Putin as a charismatic and charming leader. Yes, and I don't care if maybe he's charismatic and charming. I don't know. I don't care. The thing is that he's a dictator. They don't have a democracy in Russia. And, he's by definition a dictator. And it sort of worries me that Trump will go out of his way to praise these proper dictators like the one in North Korea, the one in China. But he will use very harsh words against state leaders in countries that are not dictator countries, if you know what I mean. Yeah, Kahina says, I think we need more nuance. Zelensky is not Churchill. Trump is not Hitler. Neither is Putin. Even Churchill was never Churchill. Yes, Churchill is interesting, isn't he? He was not as nice as we like to think when you look at what the decisions there. Yeah. Oh, I'm pronouncing Shining Noctos correctly. Shining Noctos comes from the Japanese media known as Pokemon. I know about Pokemon. My kids had Pokemon, actually. Noctowl essentially being a nocturnal great horned owl shining. Oh, really? Yeah, Wolf Odin, it's a good point. These dictators tend to be, I think, they tend to have big egos, and they like to hear someone in the West talk about them as great people. So that's probably a good thing. It makes them easier to negotiate with. But I think it was very, very foolish to call Zelensky a dictator. Very foolish. Yeah. Putin, yes. Can't wait to see him bare-chested on a horse in a calendar yet again. Yeah, I want to see them both, Trump and Putin, or actually, I don't want to see that, but riding the same horse into the horizon with cowboy hats on and no shirts. Very funny. Yeah. Let's see. So, will the MAGA movement become fascist after Trump? We will see. As I said, it has the potential to become something like that, but it's we have this. Why do you hate the USA? What have they done to hurt you? Yeah. stop being such an emotional snowflake there. We will see. I think it depends on many things, and it's difficult to predict. It could go away, like die as a movement. Movements rise and fall, and with Trump, many people are saying that it's cult evolving around his persona. But I think maybe not. I think it's more than that. But I don't know. Covered in baby oil. The two good friends on horseback. Yes. Well, no, we don't want to see that. Yeah. Bjorn will never mention the chosen ones. He'll lose his channel. What is that? Now I'm curious. Who are the chosen ones? What's that? Yeah, I haven't heard about that. Yeah. Now, but frankly, not that interested. But tiny hat people. I have talked about that, of course. But I think getting into the Israeli, I don't know what to call it. It's a bit. I've been talking for an hour now in this live stream, so yeah, I don't know. Maybe another time. But yeah, I obviously I don't approve of their killing, and I don't approve of Trump's how he's catering to the war criminals in. They are in Jerusalem, aren't they? I don't know. Of course, I don't like that. Yeah, I have noticed that, Austin. If I say the J word, I have noticed, and they cut the live stream. They have done that before. Isn't that interesting? I find it very interesting. Yeah. But actually, I don't know so much. I know more about Islam and a lot more about Christianity than Judaism. But I can tell you that something that you don't know, just to end this live stream. In 1972, in the Olympics, my powerlifting club, which is actually also a weightlifting club, they had. I'm pretty sure they. Okay, they will. They will put me in the naughty corner there if I get this wrong. But I think that club, my club, they had in 1972, the year I was born, a competitor in weightlifting in the Olympics, and that's he got a little bit in the middle, almost in the Mossad attack, because Mossad, they came and they killed people. Or was it 68? Was it 68 or yeah? But anyway, so he was there. I think he won. Did he win? Again, I will be in the naughty corner tonight, because if I got the old guys are very proud of this. thing. Um, uh, so yeah, he was there, and he could have been shot. You know. So yeah, 72 was it? Yeah, I think it was 72. Um, yeah, Israel is, is not. They're not. I mean, it's how should we put it? They should be in the naughty corner. I'll use that expression more in the future live streams. But, well, not the Mossad. I don't know. I don't know. I'm yeah. I don't know enough about that. You know. Uh, um, yes. Trump 2028. That would be interesting, would it not? Yeah. So let me just ask you before I log off here. Do you think that they will do something to change the constitution so that Trump, at the age of 82, will be able to run for president again? Did Roosevelt serve 3 terms? Seems most people are saying no. Some people are saying yes. Yeah, Rebecca. Yeah, it looks like they're trying to set up J.D. Vance to run. Oh, I don't want to see that. I don't think that will be good for anyone. I I think it seems crazy. It seems crazy. Crazy because you would then change the constitution, and in most countries you have rules like that. Most decent countries you have rules like that, because you don't want, well, for obvious reasons, but also because the guy would be 82. So, and he would then be 86 at the end of that term. And also, what if something happens to Trump? I don't want anyone to get sick, but he's an old man, right? Then what? Then what? I don't think that someone coming over to Europe talking down to state leaders here and portraying himself as our savior, like J.D. Vance tried to do, I don't think that will that crap will not be tolerated again, right? That crap will not be tolerated, and that's the reason why he's so hated now. I mean, massively hated here in Europe, because it's condescending. You wouldn't like it if people came over to North America. If you're in America now, in the USA, you wouldn't like that. You wouldn't like that. One thing is pointing out things and criticize things, but then saying that, but we are here to save you. Yes. Fuck that, Fuck that. That's maybe you can't understand it if you're in the USA, but people here are very proud. Very proud. and we don't like that. We don't like that. So, okay, I'll end this live stream now, and we'll see what happens. Crazy times, crazy times. As we speak, some huge rockets, I say rockets, but like massive bombs and rockets are on their way from Germany into Ukraine. Yeah, pride. I think pride is the word. Yes, quiet. So sorry, can't pronounce it. Too early, too late, or whatever. Yeah, pride. Yeah, national pride and identity and so on. We don't like that. It hurts more when people criticize things that are true, I think, which in this case it was, but then adding that, oh, we Americans, we will save you. We are fighting for your freedom. Yeah, that's when we go, well, and you can go and fuck yourself, right? So, and I'm sure if you think a little bit about it, you wouldn't like it either, you know. Okay, I'll just respond to this. Do you think Ukraine should be given, and thank you for the donation, should be given nuclear weapons to scare Russia into stopping their advance? Oh, I mean, these questions concerning military strategy, it's so difficult to answer because I know very little about the situation, and you know very little about the situation, all of you guys. We're not there. And I think that people on the ground there there are people who know a lot more than we do about this. My instinct tells me that it will not scare Russia into stopping their advance. And it's very risky. So if I had to answer, I would say no, I don't want that. No. Yeah. So this is never-ending live stream, but just very quickly. Okay. So what seems to be happening here now is that the Trump peace deal will not be accepted, and might be the intention from the start. I don't know. The Europeans are ramping up their military like crazy. It's crazy. So they're going to keep the war going with boots on the ground from other European countries. That's basically a European war, total war. The sound you heard there, that was the smartphone that I borrowed, but to get on the internet, but I couldn't get it to work. Yeah, I'm going to sort this out now because it's unstable, but we are online now. So that's basically what it's going to result in. But I could be wrong. And I mean, I would say, the war needs to stop. They need to give up those territories. Is it fair? No, but the war needs to stop, and it needs to stop in such a way that Putin's regime doesn't start occupying again. And that's the important part. So we'll see what happens. Yeah, I don't have a smartphone, you see. So that's why I borrowed one from my son actually to use that as a modem, but I can't get it to work. So I'm using the other thing, which Okay. I'll sort that out today. I'll try to sort it out. Yeah, I have to be able to be online for obvious reasons. Okay. That's all for now. Thank you for joining. As always, stay strong. And part of being strong, I think, is to stay kind to other people. Okay. Yes. Have a wonderful day or evening. We'll talk soon.